Good morning, everyone. So let's get ready to be inspired. We have on our show today Edgar Ndjatou. My guest is just another outstanding, inspiring entrepreneur. Listen, at the end of the day, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, there's a lot of highs and lows that we don't often share. We are the positive people out there. So we're going to share today some learning. Um, Again, the highs and the lows, get some secrets, share some information. Hope this moves you forward. We're going to wrap this in 30 minutes. So, hey, let's go. Good morning, everyone. Paula Mattisonsierra, uh, Power Marketing SF, and the host of 10 at 10. So today we have with us Edgar Ndjatou from Officium, business owner, not-for-profit professional, problem solver, workers' right advocate. This man is busy. Um, Edgar's going to be on our show today to share with us. Hey, Edgar, how's it doing?
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon for me. I'm on the
Oh,
East
yeah,
Coast.
right. You're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I love this world that we're living in right now. Can I
Yeah.
tell you how the technology is there so that we can communicate with each other and stay in touch with each other? It's ridiculous. This morning, I had a conversation with someone halfway around the world effortlessly. And it's, things have changed, so I'm excited by it. But good morning, everyone. Welcome to be on the show. Again, you guys have heard me say this. I'm rolling out a new format. I'm deep diving into the lives of entrepreneurs and their path and their learning and focusing on the real stories firsthand. The world is changing out there. And in retrospect, I feel like at some point, we may mostly be entrepreneurs, and you might as well start getting the lessons, the learnings right now, the real skinny. Develop some great strategies out there. So, no sugarcoating. We're just going to have a conversation. So, let's dive into it this morning.
Yep.
Edgar, thank you again for being on the show, sir,
No
and making
problem.
the time to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to just jump right in there and ask my first question, which is, where were you born? Were you raised? And how did this affect your journey to where you are right now?
Sure. I'm a native of Cameroon. I was born there in the 80s, and then I didn't spend much time in Cameroon. Actually, my family moved to the United States when I was about 11 months years old, and so we settled in Staten Island, New York, which is a borough of New York City. For those who are
I
not,
grew up in New York, so New York disowns it. I'm sorry for people watching. You know what I'm talking about, New Yorkers. You know.
yeah, so I just want to make sure because sometimes when I say Staten Island, other people know and make fun of me, or they know or have no idea what I'm talking about.
I
Uh,
feel like it's required. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things, like East Coasters in that area, it's almost required. Although Staten Island is gorgeous now. I mean, it's up leveled in a way that I didn't even recognize it. I drove
well, I
through.
would say we were always gorgeous, the most green space in the city.
I feel
No,
like you're unbiased. I feel like you love it.
a little bit, just a tad, just a
I
tad.
mean, I don't feel like
Uh,
we can ask you properly.
yeah, but growing up in New York City, especially on Staten Island, particularly when you're straddling two different worlds, because in the house, very much you're first generation,
Mm,
and although I spent most of my time in the United States, I always felt that I had this one world of being a Cameroon American in the house, and having to understand that culture and those values, and then when you go outside the house, American culture, right, and trying to um, fit in as a kid, and because every kid wants to fit in ultimately, right? You want to have friends, you want to fit in, and so trying to you know either pair those worlds together, um, or separate them, right? It can be very challenging and having to figure all that out. But I would say that it was still impactful for me because I learned that um, there are different audiences for different things, and so you have to learn how to communicate with people from different backgrounds, including your own, because
Yeah.
even if we're the same, we're still very different. And I felt that was a great learning experience for me to have to be a first generation American, and having to straddle different worlds. And I grew up, in a place where we had a lot of other immigrant groups, right? So I had a
Oh,
lot of friends who were going through the same experience, right?
yeah.
Trying to be the either the perfect oldest son in the household, and but also trying to fit in school and make friends, and be an American. It can be challenging at times, but I feel
Yeah.
I'm better for it.
Well, let me ask you a question. I always feel like even being, your parents had more of a direct experience with
Yeah,
it. But, I refer to it as having shiny eyes, right? It's like when you come into the American system, you see everything, right? As opposed to someone who might have grown up there, their eyes have gotten a little bit dulled. They don't see all of the
right,
sparkly opportunities.
right.
Um, because even though you were 11 months when you came, but being around direct immigrants like that, was that something that you were able to see as well? The opportunities, the beauty of it?
Absolutely. I think immigrants by nature, um, anyway, have to be entrepreneurial, right? And entrepreneurial can mean many different things, but to me, it's all about seizing opportunities, and finding ways to advance yourself. And I know that one thing that I internalized growing up is the fact that a lot of my family members had multiple jobs and school at the same time, and
And
were
it was okay.
yeah, and that was the sort of norm. It wasn't like, oh, this. It's like, no, the norm is you come here, you get a job as soon as you can, maybe two or three, depending on your situation, and you went to school, right, to
Yeah.
get your degree, um, and your hustle didn't really stop there. I had a lot of family members that had side businesses or side gigs they were doing, or thinking about different ways they can advance themselves, and that was just the environment I grew up in. Whether it was within my family or watching um,
Other
um,
groups.
other groups do the same
Yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
and so I
'Cause it was
just
just the norm, wasn't it? It was just what you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just never felt that it was a thing where you just did one thing and that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just never. Yeah, that was
If
just
you
not the norm.
feel you did it, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you were, younger, what did you think you wanted to be? What thoughts did you have about that?
Well, funny enough, I mean, like most kids, like you go through different phases of different things, but I would say that for a while, I thought that I might go into zoology, because I enjoyed so much watching the documentaries on different animals, and how they're interacting their environments, and the unique social systems they created amongst themselves. And I would read tons of books and things on animal biology, animal behavior. I love going to zoos. And then in high school, organic chemistry came my way, and that's when I realized that my any career in science is probably not going to happen. I also was not really good at math.
You set me up for a whole different thing in my head that I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah. So I just realized that, not for me. Ultimately, not because I still enjoy science. Like I'll read things or go to museums and really truly enjoy it. I just knew that as a discipline and as a profession, that it just wouldn't be for me.
But can I tell you though,
Yeah,
hearing you talk about, the things that fascinated you in those documentary and animal behavior, and just behavior, that interest in behavior, to me leads right into what you're doing now. Can you
yeah.
tell us a little bit about, your business?
Yeah. So I do outsource HR consulting. So I'm an independent consultant that helps organizations with their HR. And the best way I can explain it is, in most big companies, you have an HR department with a head of HR, and people that work within a department with different skill sets. So you might have like your classic HR generalist. That's maybe the first person you go to if you have a complaint about something or a concern. You might have a benefits person that all they do is making sure that the benefits um, are handled properly and that they're working with the right vendors. And then you might have a compliance person, the person that makes sure that the company is staying on top of changes in HR compliance laws. We basically do that for organizations um, um, on the but as an outsourced vendor. So what you're paying for when you work with us is an outsourced HR department where I function as the head of HR, and I have a team of people that work under me to ensure that all your HR needs are met. So we're pretty much full service. We do almost everything. The two things we absolutely will not do are we don't run your payroll, and we don't sell insurance. You'll be surprised how often I get that request about insurance products. So we can help you determine what products to get or what might be competitive or would fit within your business and your goals.
It
But
says a lot though, Edgar,
yeah,
because it tells me that your clients are really comfortable with you because
yeah,
they want to just do everything with you.
yeah.
Well, but let me ask you a question. Looking back on your entrepreneurial journey, what inspired you to go from employee to, I got to leap into take this leap of faith and go into owning my own business? What was that?
I would say parts irrational confidence and parts
That's not confident.
and parts
That sounds like every business owner I know.
yeah. I have been working for myself since 2013. So I
Okay.
had a different business before I started this one. Like I when I sat back and thought about it, um, at that point I realized that 'cause I wasn't set on totally working for myself. I was even open the opportunity that maybe I could work for someone else still. Because I was still very early in my legal career, and just being professional in general. But I realized that for me to be able to know that I can advance to a certain level, and always have essentially an insurance policy that I'm like I need to know how to run my own stuff because that way I always have options, right? And so I thought about my networks, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and I did the calcs and said, okay, look, I'm good about talking about myself. Everyone in my network knows what I do, at that point, I was already getting referrals from friends and colleagues because everyone knew what I did.
It already started before even officially.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
was very good about that.
Yeah.
And I
So one of the things I'm hearing is really establishing a network and sharing the
Yeah,
information.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
Don't be
and
shy about it.
yeah,
You know,
whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you want to be in the habit of promoting yourself and telling people what you do and what you're working on, because you never know what opportunities might come your way when you do that. And you never know when you find yourself in a position where you're like, okay, well, I'm in
and you
between
don't know who
jobs.
knows who, by the way, right?
Right, right. And then when you're in between jobs, you want to be able to say, okay, well, maybe as I'm looking for my next opportunity, I can still kind of do stuff my own, or or help an organization in the short term do certain things because I can come in and just be a hired professional that they know I can be self-sustaining. I know what I'm doing. Same from a business development standpoint,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I felt that was something I was very strong in, and I felt that I was also resourceful.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what it took to run my own business when I started, but I did research. I asked around. I tapped into my network, and I started to understand and know what I didn't know, right?
Well,
And
let me ask you a question. A yes, no. Do you think that you should start a business? Wait until you have the whole plan put together then? Or do you need to build the airplane a little bit as you're flying?
I think it's a mixture of both. Like
Yeah.
what I commonly tell people is that there's never a good time to start. There was always a reason that you should not start, right? Whether it's I'm trying to start a family, or I want to have more money in my bank account, or whatever it is, right? Like there's always, I seldom meet someone that started at the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare that someone says, yeah, I worked for 10 years and I saved all this money and I it doesn't always happen that way. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just kind of put in that situation, you got to make a decision, right?
Make a decision.
Yeah.
Well,
And oh, go ahead.
sorry, finish. Yeah, you go
Yeah.
ahead.
And even if you're in a perfect situation, like you still have to have a level of building the plane while you're flying it, because you just don't know what might happen and what opportunities might come your way, what obstacles might come your way,
Yeah.
right? It you know in the journey of being a business owner, there are going to be months that are great. There's going to be times where it's terrible, and like you just have all these challenges you have to go through, and you can't plan for that, right? Like I think the best thing you can plan for is how do you deal with stress and obstacles and challenges, because I think that is the true test of whether or not you can survive as an entrepreneur. Because when things are great, things are great. It's easy, right? But when things aren't as easy,
Easter famine.
yeah, right, then that's the true test, right? It's because you have to be able to problem solve, navigate, pivot, use your resources. Don't be proud.
And
And
ask for help. Ask
yeah,
for help.
exactly. Yeah, don't be an island, because
Yeah.
that's your true test.
I
If
don't know.
you
But can I tell you, I feel
yeah,
like in the American system, we hear a lot about the self-made man.
right,
I listen, I'm a big motivational video listener as well on YouTube. I love them. Every now and again, I'll stumble on someone who like you're a self-made person. When they say that, I literally will stop listening to it because I'm like, that just told me that you don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Period. This is like my fourth business officially.
Oh
And
wow,
until I discovered a network, like networking through, a couple of organizations, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I was supposed to be doing with the others. This is amazing.
yeah.
Around people, we're a hive mind. We can't know everything. What do you think is the biggest misconception about entrepreneurship?
Well, I mean, to the point you just stated, I mean, I think the biggest misconception is that you have to do it on your own, and that you're just, by yourself. And I would say that that is so far from the truth. Now, you could be the kind of person that doesn't reach out or join associations or what have you, right? And maybe that could work for you, but I would say that over
Yeah.
times it does not. I would say in my business journey, what has really helped me move along has been having these very good networks of friends and colleagues and family that I can go to for advice or help, or just be a sounding board.
Yeah.
And I and that's so important. It's really important to me because I'm a classic extrovert anyway. So the idea of not being able
I
to
would not get that about you, Edgar. You seem so shy.
no, I just love being around people, and that's like really important to me.
Yeah.
And I use that as a source of strength. That like I like community, I like relationships, I like people, and
Amen.
anytime I've had successes or challenges, I've always had people I can celebrate with. They'll say, "Hey, I'm going through this like tough situation. I need your help." You
Yeah.
know, um, and I think even more important I do as an entrepreneur, because it can be lonely. There are, yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily wake up and go into an office and you have your team with you, right? You wake up and you're by yourself, and even if you're
You're the
in a
primary.
relationship, if that person is also an entrepreneur and they just go off to work, you're really on your own, right? And so you have to create community for yourself, even if it's just a small group of people.
Mhm.
If you're an introvert and don't like people very much, but you have to have somebody, or at
Yeah,
least
I
some.
don't I don't know how introverts become business owners, being quite honest with you. It feels like a lot of work to be an island by yourself and
Yeah.
crave being by yourself. Actually, because I made sure I had it right here. The E-Myth Revisited. I'm not
Yeah.
getting sponsored for this, just in case there's no internet thing about it. I just love the book, okay? Leave me alone. Right? Last chapter in this book, he talks about exactly that. It was the first time I'd ever heard someone reference it, where after he gave you all the process on all the information about starting a business, he said, how dare you not run your business well?
Hmm.
Because it's not just about you making a great revenue, taking care of your family, it's about you taking care of your employees,
Right.
being able to give to your community,
Yep.
uplifting yourself.
Yep.
How dare you not do the best so you can have a great business and have the best you to contribute to the world?
Right.
And I was like, whoa, I never heard someone put it quite that way before. But it's all a part of the circle, isn't it? So
Yeah.
um if you were to write a book, what would that book be about?
Boy, where do I start? Um,
This is a 30-minute show, Edgar.
yeah. No. If I wrote a book, um, I
How many
think
books
that,
would you have in you? Because I feel like I'm hearing a couple of books
yeah, it
going.
might be volumes, but I think that, you know when you come from an immigrant background, right, there are certain expectations,
Yeah.
and I think now I'm seeing it. I think that it's starting to be less, just because you're seeing a lot more, and I'm speaking a lot from the the African diaspora, and I mean that in a very broad sense, but even
Yeah.
other communities where you're seeing a lot more people, um, do things beyond, like what our parents and the older guard would preach about, like STEM and like science, technology, engineering, math. Like, you
Oh
have to
my
get in
God.
these careers because, like, they pay the most money, or the
My
most
nephew
prestigious.
is 7
Yeah.
and he's programming right now. I
Right.
mean, he's
Yeah.
adorable. You should see him. And now he's out talking to you because he's like telling you stuff, and he's clearly, let me tell you, let me explain.
Yeah.
Like,
And look, and those
I
careers
love
are
that.
very important. And if that's your passion,
Yeah.
absolutely pursue that.
Yeah.
But I also want to leave open the idea that there are other things that you can do, and I think that's something I had to, like, work through. Like, now I'll say lawyer is also part of that as well,
You
um,
know it is. It's
in
like
a
we're
way.
taught, programmed,
Um,
lawyer, doctor, blah, blah, blah.
yeah, but it's amazing to see that you're seeing a lot more people that look like us, especially who are writers, and
And
doing
doing
things,
different things outside the
arts,
box.
yeah, exactly. And so I think the story that I would write would be about how to, create a world where, at the very least, you have options and you can make certain decisions, and you don't feel as if you're only locked into one thing, right? And whatever you decided to choose, awesome. Like, if you're passionate, if you see a pathway for success for yourself, go for it, whatever it is, right? But one thing
Add
that
new
was,
careers. Add new
yeah,
careers to your minds. Actually, the best one that I ever met, statistician with the Department of Defense. I'm like,
yeah,
what? Talk to me, lady. It's just I had to hear that story, but there's so many other things outside of that, right? You know,
yeah.
as an entrepreneur, has there been any obstacles or setbacks that you're comfortable sharing that really educated you for moving forward? Because I think every bad thing is a gift or a
Yeah.
lesson, right? So
Well, I would say that what's really important to do as an entrepreneur, and at least even in professional life, you have to know what works when it comes to client relationships.
mm,
I think that's really important. And I had, like, a bad experience, with one client, and when I sat back and thought about, okay, well, what happened? Did I do something? Was it
mm,
something I may have missed? Because, like, I tend to be very hard on myself, so automatically in those situations, my my default is, well, did I do something wrong? But when I really thought about it and talked to people that I trust in my network, I realized that I just wasn't the right client for me. It just was not a good match. Um, and the the lesson learned was that I need to, one, know that up front, but also identify when it's not working. And it's not simply that maybe I'm doing something that, because you don't want to feel as if you're changing the way you do things because of one client, right? Now, if you're seeing a pattern amongst different clients, or something glaring, of course, you have to be nimble. But if you're trying to bend over backwards and you're like, all right, this is the only person I can do this for, or does this make any sense, or it's probably indicative of that maybe it's not a good client relationship.
Well, I
And
mean, I think
yeah,
when you first start off, I want to make sure I share with people who are listening. I think we all go through this at the beginning of our journey
yeah,
because you got to figure out who is your client and who you are as well, because you're so excited about helping this client and that they selected your business
right,
but you're right, it might not be a proper fit, you know?
yeah,
It's okay to walk away. And it's okay to say that before you really get into it. Um, yeah, I know we're rolling down on time,
yeah,
but I really wanted to ask you, and thank you so much again for sharing with everyone out there. Mentors. I think this is
yeah.
like a really big one. We talked about not doing it on your own. How important were mentors or mentor or one mentor, mentors, whoever. I like to call them angels. How did that have an effect for you?
Oh, a tremendous effect. Like knowing that there's someone you can go to and be vulnerable. Most
Mm,
importantly, is
yeah.
very important because um, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to many times put on the face of everything's okay, everything
Mm.
is
Oh
put
yeah.
together,
How are you doing,
everything's
Edgar? Everything's great.
yeah,
You
yeah.
lost a client,
Um,
right?
but sometimes you want to be able to say, man, like I'm really going through it. I need your help. I need to just talk it out with you, or someone that can help you see your blind spots, right? That
Yeah.
can say, hey, I know you very well. This is your blind spot. You need to like address it, or look out for this, right? Or helping you think about the future, right? And help you as you're growing, or as a person, or as a professional, that they're helping you think about the next steps and the possibilities, right? And a mentor is very different than a champion, right? A champion to me is someone that not necessarily a mentor, but they're in a place that, and they can even be a peer for that matter, right? But they're just in a place where they just really value what you do, really like you, and are just willing to, present opportunities your way. But you're not necessarily going to go to them for like what we're talking about with a mentor, right? A mentor is someone that really understands you,
Well,
and
say more about allies. Is this something that you feel like people should really get and understand who those parties are? Like, talk to me a
yeah,
little bit more about
yeah.
that.
I mean, to me, a mentor is someone that puts in real time with you, right? Like it's the kind of person that it can be 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, and if you text them, they're like, yeah, I need to talk to you, and it's like, yeah, call me now, kind of situation, right? Whereas a champion, these are people you meet, through networking or through networks. Sometimes you don't know who they are, but like you may have said something to me, and you're like, you know what, that person, I want to make sure I look out for them, right? And um, and and those are people that you also want to um, either get to know, or just know that whatever you put out in the world, you want to know that people are being positively affected by that, because you never know who that champion might be. Like just recently, I got nominated for something, right? And I don't know who
What did you
nominated
get
me.
nominated for?
To
And
basically,
you waited until the end of the interview to tell me this?
yeah, like so it's an opportunity I couldn't necessarily take right now, but
Yeah.
and the person that presented the opportunity to me said, look, I can't tell you who nominated you, but just know that person thinks really highly of you, that they think you'd be good
Oh,
for this, and I have no idea who they are, and but what's important is that no matter what room you walk into or who you interact with, you want to be the same to everybody in terms of
wow.
the way
That's
you
so
treat people, because you never know who's watching or observing you, or is in a position to help you, and maybe they're not necessarily like 20 years in their career, But if they met you and they're like, hey, that person made a good impression, and they have an opportunity to help you, they might just do that, right?
Yeah.
If they can.
You
So
know, I have to
so
say that
yeah.
one of the things that I call it opulence, leave people with a feeling of opulence at all
Hmm.
times,
Yeah.
and always think the best of people because you don't know what people are going through,
Hmm.
right? Um, Committing to hate, envy, and not thinking the best of people is a lot of friggin' work. That's
It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of
Oh, it
energy.
takes
Yeah.
a lot of mental energy that actually I think does worse for your physical body and your mind than theirs because they have no idea what's going on.
Right.
But I heard, I think it was Will Smith who said, it's like you drink poison and you expect the other person to die. It's like, that's like just not going to happen, you
Yeah.
know? But if you want something in the world, you should actually reflect it yourself.
Yeah.
It seems kind of selfish to ask for something that you're not willing to give, you
Right.
know? Which is like a really big deal, you know? Listen, I mean, I could sit here and talk to you, son of immigrants, immigrant, we can talk. It's
Right.
just what we do.
Yeah.
It's funny because no matter what country I visit, I'm like, oh my God, we're all the same.
Yeah.
You can sit, you could have a cup of tea. Suddenly
Yep.
people are like, we're going to bring food. It's like 5 hours later.
Yes.
And it's not even something that people thought they did. Like they had to, like, oh, I did this and I took my time. No, they're like, oh, that was wonderful. It's so I always, uh, the learning for me and being around someone like
Yeah.
yourself always just makes me super happy. And not only that, but I wanted to share that perspective for people out there actually trying to start a business because I think immigrants, son of,
Right.
we see things in a different way. And there's so many phenomenal opportunities for
Right.
people to start their businesses here than a small country that we're from with a different economic setup, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
And so, if anyone's telling you that you can't, just don't stop listening to them.
Right.
Get on YouTube, check out this video, check out our other videos, reach out to people. What is it? Get a mentor, read a book, read a lot of books.
Right. Right. Right.
Join a networking group, get
Right.
out and be around like minds. Don't listen to that one cousin who's never done anything that thinks you shouldn't do anything either, because
Right.
we all have that cousin or aunt or uncle, whatever.
Yeah.
Do they belong in a union together, Edgar? I don't know. But listen, we're gonna wrap the show up.
Yep.
Please reach out to Edgar. Hey, Edgar, wait a second. Didn't you just start a new newsletter?
Yes, I do have a new newsletter.
Can you
Um,
send me the link, please, so that I can
yes,
share it with folks if they
we'll
want
do.
to stay in touch? And
We'll do.
also, can you connect with Edgar on LinkedIn as well? See what he's doing. You do a lot of great videos online as well, and a lot of great sharing.
Starting to do more of that. Yeah, my goal is just to particularly when it comes to HR, I don't want people to always feel that they don't have access to resources or information. So yeah, I'm trying to do more of that. And
I
so
love
if you're
it.
ever interested in a training or a seminar, let me know.
Oh, definitely. Drop it in. I'll always share it. My continued mission, of course, is to introduce you to what I call everyday experts, business owners, to help you up level, start something, hear something new that might help you. Of course, I always try to work some marketing in as well,
Right.
because this is a big part of it. There was one question I wanted to ask that I didn't even get to was about sales development,
Yeah.
and that every business owner is a salesperson.
Yeah.
So like, realize that if you're going to do this. We air every Thursday at 10 a.m. on LinkedIn live. This is a live show, not pre-recorded and pretty. And we upload to other social media platforms as well. We always close out the show with a quote. Sir, do you have
Yes,
a quote for us today?
I do. My mother told me to always offer the next kid the bigger piece, and your piece will taste better. And that's from Barbara Corcoran.
I love that. I love her. She's like such a spitfire.
Yeah.
Thank you again for being on the
Yes.
show.
Thank
You
you.
know, Thank you to people who are watching. I know you guys always catch us on the replay. I appreciate you so much. And as always, you know what I say, keep moving forward and have an amazing rest of the day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bye. And we're